No, not one thing. He's been a regular proponent of vaccine misinformation.
Yeah.
Okay.
He needs to be stopped. Hello and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About It, the show where we talk about it. But we're just going to watch CNN talk about Joe Rogan and see what they're saying, basically. So like, comment, subscribe now, and then, yeah, just enjoy.
Podcaster Joe Rogan, who is a frequent spreader of COVID misinformation, was fact-checked.
Like, it's already straight away biased. Like, they're not telling you an objective fact. They're telling you what their opinion is, but presented as a fact. Like,
I remember when news stations used to be like, Joe Rogan, who's been accused of spreading vaccine misinformation, but not anymore.
Now he's just a vaccine misinformation
he's just a liar.
guy. Yeah.
Scumbag.
Just goes around talking bullshit about the vaccine.
On his show in real time, here it is.
I don't think it's true that there's an increased risk of myocarditis from people catching COVID that are young versus increased risk of myocarditis from the vaccine.
No, there is. There's both.
Well, let's look that up because I don't think that's true. 12 to 17 more likely to develop myocarditis within 3 months of catching COVID at a rate of 450 cases per million infection. This compares to 67 cases of myocarditis per million at the same time following their second dose of Pfizer.
Yeah, so you're about 8 times likelier to get myocarditis from getting COVID than from getting the vaccine.
That's interesting.
Now,
that is not what I've read before, but also it's like, even when we're reading these things, it's like, what are we getting this from?
Talk about moving the goalpost.
I mean, it is kind of dodgy that, like, straight away you went to whether the source was reputable or not.
But it is a valid question to ask in an argument. Sure. Where is the source from? But yeah, he was being a bit stubborn there, but he's allowed to.
Now, 270 health experts are calling on Spotify to take action, writing in an open letter, quote, by allowing the propagation of false and societally harmful assertions, Spotify is enabling its hosted media to damage public trust in scientific research and sow doubt in the credibility of data-driven guidance offered by medical professionals.
But how is he doing that? By having discussions with medical professionals? That's a contradiction. How is he... Like, he's speaking to medical professionals. He's willing to have anyone that, that has a voice and they're in the medical profession. He even had a doctor for CNN go on his show and speak with him.
Yeah.
So how is that, a detriment to the medical? It doesn't make sense.
It's not. And they've just shown us a clip of someone, like, calling him out on something.
Yeah.
So they've just proved that there is at least some kind of, like, back and forth on his show.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting.
Maybe that's why their views are going down, because people are seeing, like, this is weird that they're presenting it in this way.
Let's talk about this now with an epidemiologist who signed that letter, Dr. Katrine Wallace. Doctor, thanks so much for being with us this morning. Can you just speak broadly? I'd want to ask you about that moment with Joe Rogan, but first, can you just speak broadly with the large fan base that Joe Rogan has? What is the Joe Rogan effect on his listeners?
Thank you for having me. Yes. And a podcast of the size that Joe Rogan has, and the effect of misinformation spreading to such a large audience, they have sort of a responsibility.
The way they present his viewers, they don't present it like it's something he's worked hard for and the people are seeing value in it. Yeah. It's like he, through talking bullshit, has got all these followers and the fact, like...
it's...
They don't want to give him any merit, any credibility at all. It's like everything he does is through...
No one gives a shit about CNN and these sort of channels anymore, and everyone's flocking to Joe Rogan, so you can kind of understand why they're a bit, like, catty towards him.
Yeah, because he's kind of taken their audience.
Yeah, he gets much better viewing figures than CNN or any of the others.
Yeah. And there's a reason for that. And I think the thing is, like, they must know, like, the reason. Like, if you was running a business, you would go, oh, this is where my customers are going to. Why is that? And then you want to adjust your own business accordingly. Like, their strategy is to just
Yeah.
just attack him. It's weird
Yeah,
business-wise.
I suppose they're going for a different audience, though. I guess an older audience, less kind of internet savvy audience. So they can't copy his techniques entirely. But yeah, it's kind of interesting that he's Joe Rogan's kind of showing that these little sound bites. You know, there's this sort of message that everyone's got a really short attention span. You got to do everything in like short, snappy sound bites, and then Joe Rogan goes and has a conversation with a doctor or a philosopher or something for 3 hours, and people watch it. Millions of people watch it.
To the public during a public health emergency to protect the public from this kind of misinformation and harmful information going to the public. And right now we have 26.
But they act like we're kids. Do you know what I mean? They speak like we're kids. Protect the public. Like, we need protection from Joe Rogan. Like, we have no common sense or comprehension ourselves, and they're going to tell us what we should like and not like.
Yeah. Yeah, these people think they're the arbiters of truth.
Yeah.
And that is their job to... It's so patronising that like we're all
It
idiots.
is. That's basically... Like, you guys are idiots, and so we're going to... This is what you should like, not like. It is so...
That's what you should think.
Yeah, this is what you should think, because you can't do that yourself.
Yeah.
So we'll tell you what to think, what to believe.
% of our population that is still unvaccinated, and misinformation like this directly contributes to that.
It's funny how they have to say the word misinformation every 10 seconds. Otherwise people might start thinking...
Is part of what he was making there, the case against vaccines, was he was trying to say that there's such a risk of myocarditis for a certain age group with the vaccine. In fact, he was fact-checked that the risk of myocarditis from actual COVID is many times higher. What did you think of his response to that when he then went on to say, oh, well, where are we getting this from?
That's quite a leading question, wasn't there? You could tell she was like trying to make her...
It's very concerning because, you know, Joe Rogan is an entertainer. He is not a public health or medical professional.
And he's never said he was.
Yeah.
And he's never said he was. Like, there was no point where he was like, what I'm saying is fact. I'm a doctor. I know exactly. Nah, he's never said that. That's why he brings on doctors.
No. He's someone who takes health very seriously, though, obviously. Like, for someone his age, he's in, like, ridiculous shape.
Yeah.
Really focuses on diet and nutrition and stuff. And he often very, like, you know, reasonably kind of brings up the fact that some of these people are like, why aren't you vaccinated? Are like 20 kilos overweight. And that's probably going to affect, you know, how badly you're hit by COVID more than whether you're vaccinated or not.
It's the fact that it seems like they've completely ignored, like, medically, like, we could reduce the amount of people dying from this if we all ate healthier, worked out, things like that. Like, they barely say it. It's like a...
No.
Yeah, because if you look at the numbers, like, obesity seems to be something...
obesity's in the top few comorbidities with COVID. It definitely makes a very big deal.
And, like, it's shown why it's hitting us a lot in the, like, West, because it's, like, a lot of us, we do have the opposite problem now of, like, too many people are overweight.
And listening to, you know, there has been rare cases of myocarditis detected in young males after the second dose of the mRNA vaccines. However, as the guest correctly pointed out, the risk in COVID-19 is far greater than with the vaccine. So actually, with the COVID-19, right?
Woman on the left's eyes have glazed over. So I've sold out.
I'm bored now.
The amount of transmission we have of COVID-19 right now, we're actually preventing myocarditis by vaccinating because the risk is
You can just see she's thinking about something else.
so much higher in COVID-19.
Yeah, 8 times higher, you know, as we saw there. It was actually a very illuminating moment. So you signed this letter. How do you want Spotify to address his misinformation?
We would just like Spotify to have a clear and public policy to moderate misinformation on their
wrong about one
platforms.
thing.
Yeah.
So Spotify needs to do
No,
something
not
about
one thing.
it.
He's been a regular proponent
that's
of
true.
vaccine misinformation.
Yeah.
Okay.
He needs to be stopped.
The Ministry of Truth must come in and silence him.
Yeah. Oh, I like that little Orwell kick in there. Yeah.
Because, as I mentioned before, we're in a public health emergency, so it's a responsibility they have to the public to protect them from this kind of harmful information.
They're acting like people are dying all over the place. Like you can't walk without seeing lots of dead bodies laid across the street.
It's basically flu now.
Yeah.
On here, obviously not in the States yet, but here with our policy starting to reflect that. Like almost all the kind of COVID measures have been dropped because Omicron has come and taken over. It's much more mild than all the other variants. People are still dying, but then the flu kills however many people a year. 2017, 2018 here in the UK, flu was killing 300 people a day.
Oh, is it? I didn't know that. That's a lot of people.
Yes, more than COVID's killing now. So, I don't know. Is it a public emergency now?
No, I would say it's not a public emergency.
I don't think it's been an emergency for 18 months, 2 years.
I think at the start it was. I guess you could argue it was an emergency. Like we didn't know what it was, because we didn't have all the things we've discovered now.
Yeah.
It was harder to fight. So I understood, but now we have all this like the vaccine, for example, helped a lot with slowing down this virus, even though people won't want to acknowledge that on the right kind of thing.
Yeah, it's been about a year, hasn't it, since the vaccine? I think maybe when I said 18 months, 2 years, I'd say a year. Since there's the vaccine and anyone can choose to make themselves safer by having the vaccine.
Yeah.
I'm triple vaxxed.
Yeah.
But it's the next person's right not to get the vaccine.
Yeah, there should still be that right.
Yeah.
But you can't at the same time say it doesn't have a positive impact towards the virus, which is what the nuance gets lost between the left and the right, with things like that.
Yeah.
Stop there's no further discussion to it. There's nothing. Yeah. But I do feel like it has just it is not as serious as it was. To be fair, it's arguable that it wasn't our reaction to it in the first place wasn't measured. You know what I mean? It wasn't proportional to the actual.
I think maybe because people forget this now, but the first lockdown was to slow the curve. It wasn't to live in a COVID-free society. We were like, this thing's gonna spread. Yeah. If we keep people apart, then it'll spread a bit slower, and we're more likely to have beds in hospitals.
Yeah.
But then everyone just forgot that was the reason and started going for a zero COVID policy.
Yeah, where it's gonna completely be gone. Yeah,
it's not gonna work.
We have to live with this virus at the end of the day. That's just the reality of it. It's never gonna go away. That's even the vaccine showed that, because they were presenting it as if once you've got this vaccine, it's fine, and then now they're like, oh, actually you need the booster jab, and they keep
they're upselling you.
I saw memes about how it's going to be it's like an iOS update kind of thing. There's just going to be constantly new jabs that you get. So I feel people should have the choice of that, because they never because of the extent it is now, is basically, as you said, close to the flu, and they've never made a mandate or tried to pressure people to get the flu
public
jab
health
in the
emergency.
way that they have.
It's a responsibility they have to the public to protect them from this kind of harmful information.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. We appreciate you, our Lord and Savior, CNN.
Like this is on a huge platform. It creates a false balance, as if there's two sides to the scientific information, and really
but that's the whole scientific method. You constantly questioning. There's no point science is meant to be yep, that's it. There's nothing else to be learned or discussed here. It's constantly innovating. And with this whole COVID things, it showed us that, because so many things that they said,
Yeah,
you know, they've
changed
got
their mind so many times.
So it is a constant
should.
discussion. Exactly, as you should change your mind. Otherwise, you're not like, I don't know. It's
first, don't wear masks. Then we're gonna fine you if you don't wear a mask.
yeah.
And now we're not so sure masks are that effective. Like
constantly. And that's science. It is meant to change. They are allowed to make. It's just when they act like they what they're saying is 100%, and it's like there's no other possibility, then it's a problem. But if they can make me say, oh yeah, we trying this, we suspect this, we have this hypothesis, like that is the scientific discussion, but they don't present it as that. So it is quite contradictory that they're saying trust the science, but they're not trusting the scientific method.
No, I mean, someone like Joe Rogan probably isn't applying the scientific method brilliantly.
Fair enough.
So it's less about science there and more just about.
But it is partly like the fact he is open to like other like questioning and people correcting him. Like they're not open to that, so they're less true to it. But yeah, Joe Rogan isn't applying it perfectly with like test subjects and the sample size and all of that. But like, I know what you mean. Yeah.
There is not. The overwhelming evidence is that the vaccine works and that they are safe.
Yeah, so well put. Dr. Wallace.
Evidence does suggest that the vaccine works pretty well. I mean, it doesn't stop you getting COVID or passing it on or getting ill from it, but it might help a bit.
Well, you say it like that though, but I know what you mean.
It brings it down, obviously.
Yeah, it makes you more have a chance to survive it when you get it.
Less likely to transmit it and stuff.
Yeah.
It helps, but it doesn't like stop it dead in its tracks like, you know, the MMR vaccine does or something.
Yeah.
So it feels it's a, you know, only a fatal disease for some unhealthy people, and the vaccine helps a bit. It seems like less of one where it's a good idea to force people to have it.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah.
Like if this was Ebola,
then I think people will line up happily. I think this virus hasn't actually lived to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and apparently with viruses like Ebola, like they killed their host so quickly that they don't actually have as much of a chance to spread it.
But if this was a genuinely fatal, like obviously it is fatal, but if it was a really fatal one that was killing like 30% of the people that got it, do you think Joe Rogan saying don't get the vaccine would work? Of course it wouldn't.
Yeah.
Like people aren't getting the vaccine because they don't see it as a super deadly disease.
Like maybe that's what, like they don't say it, obviously they never think like that, but yeah, that's one thing they should pick up though, that like the reason people are gravitating to him, the reason he's got many views is that people already believe this and then he kind of like maybe, you know, the confirmation bias, he confirms it a little bit for them.
And like these lot are talking like we're all idiots that can't think for ourselves. Obviously people are then going to gravitate to someone who, you know, I'm sure he said a whole load of bullshit, and I know Joe Rogan's had all kinds of weird conspiracy theory beliefs, but like you're not going to help matters by talking like people are stupid.
I really appreciate you being with us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for coming on and telling us the truth.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. You really saved us there. Like we was this close to what's in Joe Rogan.
Oh no, not Joe Rogan.
We would have had all that COVID misinformation. Like
we would have started eating elk meat and taking DMT, and
maybe we'll start getting some of that monies as well that he's seeing. All right, that was another episode of Let's Talk About It. I know it's been a while. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe I know you want more. And we'll see you on another episode of
Let's Talk About It.
Hey.
It's funny how they have to say the word misinformation every 10 seconds. Otherwise people might start thinking